Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Are you struggling to conceive? You have options, and at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group, we'll make sure you have the guidance and support you need. PREG is known for individualized fertility care that's unique to every patient. We take the time to provide a reassuring and empowering experience because we believe that you deserve nothing less. Let us help you on your journey to parenthood. Visit us at pregonline.com to learn more. Get the guidance and support you need at Piedmont Reproductive Endocrinology Group.
Stoveleg Media, igniting conversation.
Hey y'all, what is up? It's me, your girl, Elena Grace, and you're listening to another episode of I've Been Thinking. So thank you so stinking much for that. This week, it is September 10th today, so we all know what that means. A somber occasion for all of us Americans. And I wanted to do something kind of related to that, but not, well, it is directly related. Anyway, today, before I ramble too much, today we're going to be talking about how 9/11 changed country music. I just think that this is so fascinating. It is just a really interesting, nuance to American culture, I guess. It's just an odd thing also. But I'm really, really excited to share this with you all. I have read about it a time or two. It's something that I think is really interesting. And I love that other people have had this thought about how different country music has been since the new millennium. And yeah, just really, really interesting. But we're going to pause that for just a second. And I am going to remind you guys, make sure that you share this week's episode with a friend before we do anything. Share this episode, put it on your Instagram story, put it on your Facebook, send it to somebody. Just share this week's episode, okay? And then also, if you can, make sure you check out the Patreon, patreon.com/I've Been Thinking Pod. That is where you get your extra content, your early episodes, all of that good stuff, bonus episodes. You can get coupon codes for the Etsy shop where my merch is, all of that stuff. Okay, so go check that out if you can. If you can't, I get it. But please, if you are in the place and you love the show, your support would be greatly appreciated. And if you can't financially support the show, again, just share it with a friend, put it on your Instagram story, and give us an Apple Pods review while you're at it. That is just insanely helpful to the algorithm, to helping more people find the podcast. So thank you for that, letting me give that spiel. Okay, now to the topic. Now, obviously, 9/11 was one of the most significant events in American history. I mean, I would argue ever, and easily one of the most significant events of my lifetime. I mean, even though anybody who was born after 1994 or born before 1994. Anyway, anyone who's on a millennial or on the cusp of Gen Z has lived through ridiculous historical events. I'm so tired of it. I'm so stinking tired of living through these world-shattering things. We had 9/11. Well, first of all, we had Y2K. We were gonna have Y2K, but that didn't happen. We had 9/11. We had a financial crisis and the real estate bubble. We had wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. We had the botched pullout of Afghanistan. We've had the Taliban. We've had Al Qaeda. We've had ISIS. We've had more school shootings and lone wolves than I can count. Actually, there's been, I have a paper where I did count them, so that's interesting, over the past 25 years. So I guess I can count them, just not off the top of my head. I mean, it's been crazy. That's my point, is it's been crazy. The coronavirus. I mean, what's the swine flu, the bird flu, the mad cow disease. Y'all remember that? I mean, what the crap? Anyway, like I said, 9/11 has been easily one of the most significant events of my lifetime, personally. I will never forget the day. I was in first grade, so I was 6 years old, and they did not send us home from school early. Everybody second grade up got to watch the news that morning. And so most people I know who are 1 year older than me saw the second plane hit. I did not. They didn't let first grade, kindergarten, or preschool know anything was happening for obvious reasons. Honestly, I don't remember my teacher crying, so I can't say that. I don't remember anything in particular being crazy, but what I do remember is when my dad picked me up from school that day. He always, he would come in and he'd get me, and he always parked in the back parking lot on the opposite end of the school building from where my room was when I was that small. And he parked in that parking lot until the day I went to middle school, all the way through to sixth grade. Anyway, he picked me up and he's holding my hand and we're walking out, and I swear, I remember outside of my body, I was watching it, and he told me, there's been something happen. There's some planes crashed. Your mom is really upset. They also told me that they weren't sure, but they knew that one of their friends was supposed to be flying possibly that day, and they were worried about her and all this stuff. And I was like, okay, I'm 6. I can't grasp the gravity of this whole situation. I don't think I even knew that 4 planes went down. It was just a lot. And so, yeah, I just remember in the aftermath, too, of how scary that was, because I was in the surge being when American troops started moving into Iraq at a pretty fast pace. And the surge was truly around 2005. But when American troops started moving in originally, and then right at the beginning of the surge, I was terrified. I spent 3 years terrified out of my mind that my dad was going to go to war and was not going to come back. And every time he'd leave for 2 weeks, because for those of you who don't know, my dad is still in the Army. So every time he'd leave for a few weeks to go do something, or for a weekend, I would cry because I was so scared he was going overseas. He always told me, no, 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 no. And then I remember when my parents told me, and my dad said to me, you know, so many people have gone. Who am I to turn down the call when it's my turn? And that always sticks with me. Like, I don't think I'll ever forget that either. But he didn't turn down the call, and he went. And that is, you know, that was a lot. That is probably when I started burying emotions. I won't lie. But that's where he met his dear friend Andy, my sweet Liam's dad. And that, you know, so many wonderful things came out of that in a weird way. And then he came back, and I was in about 6th grade when he came back. And he always says he left a little girl and he came back to find a young woman, because I had sprouted. I got tall. I guess my hair got longer. My hair curled while he was gone, so he left a little straight-headed baby and came back to a bushy-headed, like, preteen freak. So that was probably shocking for him. But anyway, it was just a lot. I am telling y'all too much. It was just a lot, okay? But, you know, in the wake of 9/11, we as Americans were all feeling a lot of emotions. A lot of emotions. And country music had some big changes around that time. Now, this one article that I found says that in the wake of 9/11, country musicians started writing songs expressing their feelings to the public, and they were trying to represent the, quote, spirit and patriotism of the American people, which is fair. And I think that's very relevant. I think that makes a ton of sense, right? The Rock, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, actually, around that point in time, he referenced the change in country music and used the old adage, country music is 3 chords and the truth. He was like, this makes total sense. They're singing this because this is what everyone is feeling. So we had the big songs like Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning, that Alan Jackson wrote in reference to 9/11. Thomas Connor of the Chicago Sun-Times calls this the softer end of the 9/11 music spectrum, because it was a ballad, it was mourning, it was asking questions and relaying all of the feelings that we were all having, confusion, grief, just general sadness, you know, all of those things. And it definitely is one of the softer songs that came out of it, and it's a classic. Alan Jackson, that is a classic. I can't listen to it regularly because it makes me cry a lot, but it's good song. That's some good soup. That's a good song. Then we have, right before actually 9/11, Only in America by Brooks and Dunn was released. It just so happened to be released in June of 2011. But after the attacks happened, it was like, well, holy crap, we couldn't have asked for better timing to have released the song, because it really is a healing song for, given the context, right? Because it conveys the Americanness, like the American dream. It focuses on different types of people. Ronnie Dunn said that it's meant to be a universal, apolitical song. And Kix Brooks called it sacred ground. Like, this is a special song. This is about the place that we all call home. It is about all of us at the same time, and the things that we share and our commonalities and everything that we love about this place, right? That's kind of the vibe. But then, kind of once the mourning period was deemed like over enough. The sobriety of songs like the last two kind of, which like Only in America isn't super sober, but it's like, we love America, we are American, and we love who we are. You know, it's not super sober, but it's not like a gross song either. It's just like, yes, if you want to know, this song, Only in America, makes me feel like it is like a golden hour sunset in the most like beautiful American city you can imagine. Like, that's how I feel about that song. And it's just like, everybody is doing well, nobody is struggling, and even the people who are struggling are getting help from their neighbor. That's how that song makes me feel. I know that's not reality, but that's the point. That's the point of art, isn't it? To convey idealism to an extent. Anyway, so the sobriety and like the healing songs started to get replaced with ideas of anger and revenge. So in Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue by Toby Keith, we have literal, the Statue of Liberty, Lady Liberty herself, is shaking her fist, and America is personified as a big dog ready to attack. Not personified, anamorphosized, whatever. Personified as a big dog ready to attack. I mean, it's a warning song. It's an angry song. Its name is Courtesy of the Red, White, and Blue, parentheses, the Angry American. I mean, it's literally about being angry. Dan Rather, the reporter, he actually called it a rallying cry. And, like, there's no disagreeing with the fact that it sounds good. It's like a bop for us Americans. But we've got this verbiage of, here, I'll read you an excerpt from the song. Justice will be served and the battle will rage. This big dog will fight when you rattle his cage. And you'll be sorry that you messed with the US of A, 'cause we'll put a boot in your ass. It's the American way. I mean, this song just spoke to the anger and the loss and the devastation that we were all feeling, but rather than healing the way some other songs do, like the two previous ones we discussed, it encouraged acting on and releasing that anger. And it's been called a polarizing song. And now, as an adult, I totally agree with that. It is polarizing. Because that language and the emotions that it produced just made people feel more like they needed to do something. And at a time when, first of all, people were being sent overseas, like something's being done. Second of all, anti-Muslim assaults in the U.S. skyrocketed because people thought, oh, this guy has brown skin. He must know the attackers. I mean, that wasn't helpful. That kind of anger and revenge language wasn't helpful. And in no way am I blaming, the anti-Muslim attacks on this song. I want to clarify that. But when we should have been encouraging loving your neighbor and healing gently and supporting those who were actually being sent to, quote unquote, avenge these Americans' deaths, this song was making the average Joe Blow on the street want to go fight somebody, and that shit ain't helpful. That's not doing anything. He's just going to cause problems, So now I want to take a little turn, a little bit. And I want to highlight how country music has taken a monopoly on the subject of kicking ass and taking names post 9/11 by telling y'all about the song Paul McCartney wrote in response. He actually wrote this song after having fucking watched the attacks on the Twin Towers from the tarmac at JFK. The song is called Freedom. Again, it's Paul McCartney. And weirdly, his song never caught on. It was a ballad, similar to Where Were You When the World Stopped Turning. But rather than being very... Oh, y'all, I'm choking. I think I'm allergic to something in my house. I'm not lying. My eyes started itching and my throat is itching really bad. Anyway, rather than being very specific about being about 9/11. It was really more general about fighting for the right to live in freedom, like that kind of thing. It wasn't angry. It didn't directly mention 9/11, but it's obviously the same kind of subject matter as Where Were You? But it never gained in popularity. And McCartney actually told The Telegraph that it was in the spirit of like a we shall overcome, fight for our right, fight for our civil rights, not go out and hit people. And that's a quote. He was like, it's not a quote, go out and hit people, end quote, song. But that apparently wasn't what the people wanted. He said it, not me. So, in the years that followed, this immediate switch that we saw happen in country music post September 11th, 2001, it's continued. Like, we don't have hits like Cowboy Take Me Away and Old Red so much anymore. Now that we're hitting the 20-year mark, I think that we're getting a little bit back to it. But for the past 20 years, it's been all Chicken Fried by the Zac Brown Band and songs that want to tell us how American their dog is and their beer is, and about a girl dancing in a truck bed in short shorts. What's the point in that? What is the point? And I hate it too, because I really enjoy a lot of country music and I enjoy a lot of country musicians. But anymore, the biggest, most mainstream stuff is shit. It's all poppy, and most of the guys singing, I never had dirt on their boots or like a real problem to speak of, because most of them are from Brentwood and Nashville, and their daddies paid for their, album. Like, Merle would not approve. But, we're getting back into it. There's some artists who have started bringing back high quality singing and songwriting, and we love that. Tyler Childers. We love Tyler Childers. That man is incredible. Chris Stapleton, another Kentucky boy. Love him. Devin Hale, who was on the podcast a while back. Love Devin. I just realized those three, all Kentucky boys. We love that. But the thing is about these artists is they're not trying to sell 1 million records. They are just doing their thing. Like, of course they want to do well, especially Devin as he's growing. He wants to do well. But they do what they do. And they're not trying to appeal to everybody. They're not trying to set some kind of standard of, okay, after this point, all music should be about religion and women and beer and Bibles and American flags. You know what I'm saying? It's just, I don't know. But I do want to say this too before I finish up. For those of you who are like, Elena, this is probably in your head. Oh, no. It is not. This is not something I made up. Adam actually thought that this was all in my head and I made it up. But here's my proof. I actually found a few articles about this topic. So definitely go Google it, go look it up. But I found a scholarly essay on this very subject where they used a small scale, though pretty thorough research methodology, in my opinion, where Elizabeth Maddock Dillon and Sarah Connell, the authors, confirm, quote, to an extent, which is scholarly for, we think that this is pretty serious, but we're not going to say 100% because we don't want to be proven wrong on 100% and it actually be 98%. You know what I'm saying? So they confirm, quote, to an extent, that country music post-2001 uses more personal language when referencing religion, war, and patriotism, and that these topics have become more prevalent than before. Which is, that's my point. Country music saw a significant change after September 11th, 2001, where the musicians stopped writing about things like I said, Cowboy Take Me Away, A Country Boy Can Survive, family traditions. That's a banger. they stopped writing songs that were all like that, and it started becoming more about things like, I'm going to drink my beer because I have freedom, and I'm going to go fishing, and I'm going to wave the American flag in the back of my truck. Like, that is the point of so many songs. I have the freedom that I have because somebody died for it, and because of that, I am going to let a 17-year-old girl in Daisy Dukes shake her ass in the bed of my truck. What's the point? What is the point? I don't get it. I don't get the need. Like, I am proud to be an American, okay? I don't get the need for the excessive. It's not even patriotism at this point. I would argue it's nationalism. And nationalism is no bueno. We don't want nationalism. Patriotism, fine. Nationalism, problematic. If you don't know what that is, go look it up, okay? We're gonna learn some vocabulary today, I guess. But my point is, once again, it's just a lot. And I feel like this is totally me speculating. I haven't researched on this, but I have to wonder if the rise in, or if there is any correlation equals causation to the consistency of patriotism in country music songs and a rise in nationalism. I don't know, again, and I'm not going to blame the songs and the people writing them for that, because that is not their fault, but it can't hurt, or it can't help. That's the word. It can't help. It's really interesting to me. I hope it interests you guys too. Yeah, I hope this has got your brain ticking and turning, and I hope that, I don't know, I hope that you have a good weekend. I don't really have that much more to say on it, because frankly, 9/11 is like a really difficult topic for me. I mean, I spent 8 minutes talking about it at the beginning of the show. It's a lot, and it's a lot for a lot of us. We all have processed it and internalized it in different ways. Adam can watch documentaries about it. I cannot. I absolutely cannot. I don't know, just a really difficult time. But then at the same time, oh man, as a graduate assistant, when I was in grad school, I had to read essays that kids who were born after 2001 wrote about 9/11. And that was the most insane thing to me, that this thing that I lived through and traumatized me, that this thing was something that these kids had only ever read about in a book or seen a documentary on TV. That was insane. And reading their papers and how they wrote about it, they were so detached from it. And that is just crazy to me that they are, but I get it. It's because they weren't alive for it. It's like somebody my age, 26, it's like if I wrote about Pearl Harbor. You know, I might still be sad about it or whatever, but I can write about it and talk about it. But I can't do the same for 9/11. It's a very difficult thing for me to talk about, because it was a very scary, traumatic, difficult time in my childhood, and it certainly completely changed my life. Yeah, anyway, just a little Friday rant for you guys. If you like that, if you like the ranting, go check out the Patreon for sure, because it's lots of me ranting, lots of this, lots of the sidebars. But anyway, it is a difficult time. You take the time this weekend to mourn if you need to. Take the time to spend spend some time with family or loved ones, friends. Celebrate your life and be thankful for the life that you have been blessed with the ability to be alive, because life is hard, and I don't think that we celebrate it enough. I think that we focus a lot on the hard, and we don't spend enough time enjoying and loving the good. So this weekend, in honor of those who aren't here, in their memory, with love, with all kinds of good intentions, enjoy your weekend. Remember them. Again, do it in their memory, but live and love for them. And I think that they would be happy for you to be able to do that. All right, guys. Again, follow along at I've Been Thinking Pod. Check out the blog with sources for today's episode at I'veBeenThinkingPod.com, as well as my mostly weekly blog posts that are happening now that are not related to episodes. They're just like things I write. So yeah, go check that out. Make sure that you're following along wherever you listen. Make sure you're subscribed for new episodes to just pop up and remind you. And check out the Patreon if you have a chance. Patreon.com/I've Been Thinking Pod. So, yeah. Thank you guys so much for listening. I hope you've enjoyed it. Have a great weekend. I love you all. And I'll talk at you next Friday. Bye.
Hello, you sentient ball of stardust. My name is Casey Davis. I'm a therapist, and I'm an author of the book How to Keep House While Drowning, where I talk about ways to make it a little bit easier to take care of yourself when you're overwhelmed, stressed, have mental health issues, physical health issues, or maybe you're just in a hard season of life. Maybe you're looking for a place that you can come and listen to some practical advice. This is a podcast for all of the self-help rejects. We're going to talk about skills for survival and self-kindness. And I'm going to leave the pop psychology at the door. I promise not to tell you to meditate or to journal. We're just going to give you some really insightful conversations with hopefully some practical advice. So I don't believe you need to pick yourself up by the bootstraps. I don't want you to just try harder, and I don't believe that laziness exists. So join me over on Struggle Care, where we can find compassionate solutions that help us function a little bit better.
Okay, round two. Name something that's not boring.
A laundry? Ooh, a book club. Computer solitaire, huh?
Sorry, we were looking for Chumba Casino.
That's right. ChumbaCasino.com has over 100 casino-style games. Join today and play for free for your chance to redeem some serious prizes.
ChumbaCasino.com.
No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+ terms and conditions apply. See website for details.